Hi, welcome to Baby Narc. Brian and I actually had a, a couple of good days. We can never get past that. Never. It's always one day or a half a day, maybe two, nothing else. We had a whole lot of drama recently, and I'll tell you about that in another video. But so basically, oh my gosh. So we were hanging out over at his house in his garage, and he was playing guitar and singing. And recently, he has been really working on some old songs, like things I haven't heard before, because he plays stuff over and over and over again. And then kind of reworking those. And then he's been writing a couple of new things, maybe not entire songs, but just little, pieces, whatever, putting his stuff together. So we're hanging out, and I told you about his friend Cody. I say friend, basically another person that Brian uses. Now, Cody's a piece of shit person too, but, they run in packs. But nevertheless, he, has been recording things for Brian because he has recording equipment and a computer and guitars, and he plays bass. And he doesn't have a drum machine, but they have some sort of computer program where they can add drums to stuff, And so he calls him. Oh, I know what it was. So we're, sitting around drinking beer, and he, rolls a joint, and he's like, "Oh shit, I'm out of weed." So he's like, "You don't have any weed on you, do you?" And I'm like, "Actually, you know what? I still have the weed that he gave to me. Remember how he gave me a big nugget and then he takes it out of my hands to give me a smaller nugget?" Yeah, I still have that. Fuck no. Like, I'm gonna go home and get that, and plus that's mine. He takes everything else from me. So you know what? If I never smoke that, good. Actually, that's what I should do. I should never smoke it, just to make sure that he doesn't. I'm so mean. I'm just so over him. Anyway. Oh, well, apparently not, because I'm still hanging out with this fool. So he says, "Hey, you have any weed?" And I'm like, "No." And then I thought, here's what I thought. I thought he was gonna rope me into going and getting some for him, like him not come with me. And I was like, "No, that is not happening. I'm not freaking, no. I'm not going to your plug's house to go get you some shit. Like, no, that ain't happening." So, but he says, "Okay, well, let me call up Cody." And then I thought to myself, I don't want to hang out with him, but whatever. And he's kind of a creepy little dude. I mean, he's nice, but he's weird, and he's creepy, and he really, really likes me. And, I mean, he's the kind of guy who, if Brian left the room, he would, like try to touch me. Like, ugh, whatever. These people, I gotta get away from all these freaking lost souls. So he calls up Cody, and Cody, you could tell Brian was texting him, and then Cody really wouldn't get back to him, and then they finally got on the phone, and I could kind of hear Cody a little bit, and you could tell that he was just like, "Really, dude, I really don't want to come over." So Brian, of course, charms him into coming over and bringing a joint. Now, here's the other deal. So they've had a couple of falling outs. Now, Cody, once again, he's a piece of shit too, and he's a user too, and, but he does not let Brian get away with a bunch of his bullshit. He calls him out on it, and Brian don't like that. So they've had a couple of falling outs, and of course Brian thinks that he's the one who's wrong, not himself. So it is just kind of using somebody, people that I've had falling outs with, unless you're trying to repair that relationship, I don't call them up for favors. that's using someone. And I don't want them doing that to me either. It's like we have already kind of parted ways, and, whatever. That's what I need to do with Brian. So Cody comes over, and so we're in the garage, so we can see his headlights from his truck. And he's like not coming in. So Brian, I said something. I said, because here's what I thought. I knew that Brian was going to go out there and get the joint from him, and whether he was going to pay him or not. Now, he said on the phone he was going to pay him. He's like, I'll give you some money. I knew what was going to happen. I knew that he was going to just go meet him out there, get the weed, joint, whatever, and Cody wouldn't come in and we wouldn't hang out or whatever. And it's like a transaction. God, it's so cold and disconnected. So I say to Brian, because Brian kind of treats this little dude like shit, and I say, I think he's sitting out there waiting for us to invite him in. And I think that's what I said. So Brian kind of went, ugh, like you could tell that he was like, he just wanted weed from him. He didn't want to hang out with him. And I really didn't either, but me, I'm an empath, so I feel bad for everybody now. I don't want people's feelings to be hurt, whatever. Or feel used. So that's the worst feeling. I'd rather somebody just call me a straight up bitch. I'd rather somebody point their finger in my face, scream at me, and tell me I'm a bitch than use me. It hurts less. So Brian goes out there, and then I didn't know what was going to happen, and then they both walked back in the garage. So Brian closed the garage door after him. It's an overhead door. And Cody's like, hey, and, he hugs me, and, like, kisses me on the mouth and stuff, and I'm like, I don't know what to do, whatever. So anyway, but whatever. So, and he's like, hey, girl, what are you doing? So Brian starts playing guitar really loud. Well, Cody and I know that, yes, we are all over there to worship Brian while he plays his guitar and gives us a concert. We all get it. But the dude just walked in. Can we have 1 second to exchange pleasantries? So, but see, we weren't paying attention to Brian. So he has got to play his guitar really loud. And then me and Cody start getting loud talking over it. We're like, hey, how you been? God. So Brian stops and he's like, hey, I wanna and he cusses like, hey, to startle us. He's like, I want y'all to hear this new song I wrote. Whatever. So anyway, whatever. So Cody and I kind of stopped talking, and Cody starts rolling a joint, and whatever. And Brian is not paying attention to either of us. There was this energy that comes off of him that we don't even exist. Basically, we are there to worship him while he plays guitar, tell him how wonderful he is, and this dude's supposed to give him some weed. That's what we are. We're like freaking, we're like appliances, like Cody's a blender and I'm a microwave. It's like, geez, whatever. Or vending machines. That's what we are. We're vending machines because, a vending machine, you have to actually put something into it to get something out of it. Oh my God. So anyway, Brian's playing guitar, Cody's rolling a joint. I'm sitting there, doe-eyed and worshiping Brian with his musical talent. And the thing that sucks is he is good. I cannot deny the fact that he's fucking amazing, whatever. Anyway, so Cody, now this is what's weird. Cody says, hey, I have a game. I'm like, okay. And Brian doesn't even hear him, whatever. And he's like, oh, I'll go get it from my car. And I'm like, oh, you mean an actual, a board game or something, whatever? I thought you meant some sort of I don't know. Anyway, so he goes out and he's about to open up the garage door, and Brian's like, "Where are you going? Are you leaving? And are you taking off? Whatever." And he's like, "No, I got to get something from my truck." And Brian's like, "Oh, well, I don't want you to open up the garage door because it's loud, and my parents, because I want my parents to hear it." And Cody's like, "No, no, no," and Cody's stubborn too. So Cody's like, "No, no, no, I gotta get something from my truck." I'm just sitting there going, "Oh my gosh." I should be filming. That's what I need to do. I need to be filming all of these transactions. That's what I need to start calling it, because that's what it is. It's not relationship stuff. It's not interactions. It's transactions. So he goes up to the truck, and he comes back with this like kind of large box looking thing, and it's a board game, but it's some weird sex game. I'm like, what? So he starts opening it. And of course, Brian's not paying any attention to him because Brian's in his own world. And, his music is so fucking loud. I mean, it's like concert level audio in that garage. I'm surprised the police don't show up. Oh, Brian would probably try to charm them into staying. They'd be like, "Hey, grab a beer with us and watch me and tell me how great a singer I am." God. So Cody is opening up this box, and he's showing me, and it's so, I mean, it's kind of cool. Like, like it was creative, whatever. So it's literally a board game with like little, pieces to it, and then cards, and you're supposed to, I don't know, he's trying to explain it to me. I guess like it's a dirty sex game. Like, like, what's the name of this? And how do you do that position? Whatever. And I was like, and then I will say this about Brian. He did stick up for me. I was surprised about it because he's like, "Dude, what is that?" And then Cody starts, because Brian stops playing, and then Cody starts talking about the game, and then he's like, "What?" And then Cody starts like asking the little questions. Then he gets on Brian's mic and starts like saying the question, and then Brian's like, "Dude, what are you doing? Like my parents can hear all that." And so he's like, "Oh, sorry, dude." And then he continues to like try to play this game with. It was fucking weird. It was a weird moment in time, and I was like, "Oh my god, what am I? Oh Lord." So, Brian's like, "Dude, that's not cool." And then I will hand it to Brian. This was cool. He says, "Dude, we can't be playing a game like that with her here." And of course, I'm sure in my crazy mind, I'm thinking to myself, "Oh, that's so sweet, him like being respectful to me." And maybe he was, maybe he wasn't, who knows? Or maybe it was just some way to get him to stop talking. I don't know. Anyway, it was fucking weird. Weird. So anyway, so Cody gets kind of embarrassed, and then he goes and like goes over to the other side of the bench and like starts putting the game up, whatever. And so then we start smoking some weed, and I didn't really, I smoked a couple of hits, whatever. It's not my thing. Whatever. I drink. So, I need to freaking be on an IV drip of the most hardcore, I was gonna say heroin, whatever, like, like a sedative, like they put people out in the hospital, like put me in a coma to try to deal with this shit. So, so whatever, and then Brian says, "Hey, did you bring that CD?" So they had made another CD of just one song, and which is kind of weird because I didn't even know that they'd been hanging out. But Brian has his own world going on that I'm not part of or welcome to be a part of. When he disappears, I don't know where he is, what he's doing, whatever. Half the time, you don't know what he's doing. So, Cody has a CD, and we live in a world where there's no CD players, and I'm like, well, how are we going to listen to it? And so Brian says, "Well, let's go to your car." And my car is like, it was kind of like dirty, and I just didn't feel, I don't know. I don't know why I was weird about that, but I didn't want to. So, so Cody says, "Well, let's sit in your car." And he goes, "No, I don't want to go in the house and bother my mom and have to get the keys and whatever." I'm like, God, it's like hanging out with, I was going to say one, but two teenage boys. Like, that's what this really is. I mean, that's why I'm dating a toddler. I'm dating a little kid and wondering why he's not a man. He does all these crazy things because that's who he is. And I just won't accept the fact that he is not going to do normal man things. And, God, whatever. So, anyway, so now I'm two teenage boys. Oh, and by the way, now Cody has a different situation. He was a glazer. That's glass, like windows and things like that, like putting whatever the chemical is on them. And he did that basically, for freaking 20 years, and he got cancer. And he's like a cancer survivor. Like he had like radiation and surgery and everything, and I guess he's in remission. So he had to quit his job, and now he lives with his mom. And, God bless him, and I get it, and that's great, good. I'm glad that he is able to do that. But I get the feeling that he has probably his whole life intermittently lived with his mom anyway, and lived out of motels, and lived with 8 dudes in an apartment. He's the same kind of person that Brian is. Once again, I'm dating a teenage boy and trying to get him to grow up. And it ain't happening. It's just not. I might as well date this houseplant behind me. I try to get this houseplant to love me and be responsible and be in a normal, loving relationship. And that ain't going to happen. The only thing that this plant is going to do for me is hang there and wait for me to water it. And that's Brian. Brian is a houseplant. He only needs me to water him, in whatever supply he needs. And I'm fucking tired of it. I ain't no gardener. So, the love gardener. So, sorry, I keep saying so. We'll stop that. Okay. Cody, he says, okay, fine, let's go. We can go to my truck, but it's a 2-seater, so one of y'all are going to have to stand outside while we listen to this CD. And Brian's like, yeah, that's fine. Like, see, Brian is totally fine with odd, God, I can't even think. Just annoying things, as long as it benefits him in some way. Then he's fine with it. He has no problem with it. We go to Cody's truck, and oh my God, it's a mess. Like 8, fast food packages fell out on the ground as I opened up the door. So Cody's sitting in the driver's seat, I'm sitting in the passenger seat, and I can't hardly even close the door. Brian is trying to close the door practically on my foot. He's just so oblivious to anyone who's not him. And so I'm scooting in really fast, and then Brian shuts the door, and he's like, roll the window down, son, roll the window down. And so Cody's got the CD playing, and Brian's standing on my side. I'm surprised he stood on my side. I'm surprised he didn't go stand on Cody's side. He just didn't give a fuck about me. I'm just nothing to him. Nothing. Cody has the CD playing, and it's Brian singing, and it's Brian singing, Cody playing bass, and then Cody mixed it, and then Cody put in drums through the computer. It's not anybody playing drums, but it sounded really good. It did. It sounded good. And Brian keeps telling me to turn up louder. Cody's like, dude, we're out in the driveway, your neighbors. And Brian's like, no, don't worry about them, because he's not. Got this thing blasting. It did sound really good. And then Brian singing to it. And I just, the more I hang out with him, the more I just see who the hell this thing is. He's such a fucking narcissist that he is singing along to his own voice on his CD. And I mean, the whole point of it was for all of us to listen to the CD and see how it sounded, But he's so fucking maniacal that he has to sing over it, and then he's kind of like out of tune with it, and I'm like trying to hear it. But of course, you can't say that to him. Oh, hell no. So, whatever. Song finishes. Brian just goes back in the garage and then doesn't even open up the door for me. No, I mean the truck door. He just hauls ass back in the garage and gets his guitar and starts playing again. And so I get out and I shut the door and I still had the window rolled down. I was talking to Cody and he's like, well, hey, I'm going to take off. And I was like, oh, no, come on, hang out with us, whatever. Because I knew that he felt weird. Like he was embarrassed about that weird game. And then Brian is just shitty to him and shitty to me. And it's fucked up. So anyway, no wonder he wanted to fucking leave. I should have left with him. And he goes, well, hey, because he's deaf in one ear because of this cancer. And he's like, hey, come around to my side and talk to me for a second. And then I thought, oh, he likes me. I do. I'm standing there and we're talking. And he's like, hey, it was so good to see you. Hope you're doing okay. Blah, 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 whatever. And, hope you like the music. And I was like, yeah, it sounds really good. And I said, are y'all gonna like make an album, cause now they have a little mini album of like, I think it's 4 or 5 songs on it. It sounds pretty good. And the whole point is they want to make anywhere from like 10 to 15 songs, somewhere like that, and make an actual album. And you have to. I mean, they don't have a bajillion dollars to rent a venue to go play live. They don't, it's just them. I mean, they can't go and do this professionally, like, physically. They're gonna have to just create music, which that's what everybody does anyway. Have to create music and get it on the internet somehow, whatever. And that's how you do it. But you can't just have one song. I mean, you kind of can't. Whatever. Okay. Well, after I say that, are y'all gonna, keep working? And he's like, we'll see. Now, Brian doesn't know that. Brian thinks, oh, I've got this guy wrapped around my finger and we will record whenever I want to. That's what he thinks. But I think Brian's got another thing coming with this dude because I think this dude's fucking sick of him. Okay, so I say to Cody, now, once again, he doesn't hear well. So, he kind of gets confused, but I said, oh, you're going to leave? I said, oh, did Brian give you some money? Now, I meant for the joint. That's what I meant. I didn't mean, like in life. But I said, oh, whatever. And he goes, that dude never gives me any money. And I said, oh, like he doesn't like ever pay you back for, when you like give him weed and stuff. He goes, he hasn't paid me for anything, including that CD. And, and they've spent hours on this. And here's the other thing. None of those songs are Cody's. None of that music is, basically all of this is Brian. All of his stuff. He won't let Cody sing. Of course, Cody kind of can't sing. He can do some backups though, and it would actually sound better with some backups, or not necessarily Cody, but somebody. And, let's call it what it is. Brian is using this dude. He's kind of like using this dude like he's his producer, but then he won't pay him anything. And another moment in time where I'm just like grossed out by Brian. He is a bad dude. And it destroys me because I am in love with his potentiality. I'm not in love with the man. The man is a teenage boy who can't and won't get his shit together and can't and won't treat everyone normal, much less me. And man, that hurts. It just really fucking hurts me. But what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? you know, dress up like a surgeon and give him a brain transplant. Because that brain is bad in there. He got a bad brain. That's a punk band, by the way. All right, so there you have it. That's one of my stories for today. I'll probably make another video about what's been going on the past week, whatever. So, yeah. Yeah, he didn't even give him money for that joint. This dude did not even want to come over at all anyway. He didn't want to. And then he gets treated. Here's the other thing. Before Cody went and got that weird game, Brian says, dude, chill, because Cody was like talking and talking and talking, and Brian's like, dude, chill, I'm trying to play this song, on his guitar. And Cody goes, very frustrated, and his hands even kind of like got weird, like by his side, because I always notice like people's like, like not just verbal, but physical cues, and body language. And he kind of got like frustrated and put his like, he kind of like made fists out of his hands. And he says, I just got here. Can't you even greet me? And I say to Cody, I said, oh, you ain't going to get any kind of greeting here. And then I thought to myself, oh, shit, I hope Brian didn't hear that. But yeah, I mean, yeah, when I come over, Brian doesn't, he opens up the overhead garage for me. Barely. Sometimes he'll only open it halfway and I have to crawl under. And he doesn't hug me, kiss me, say hi to me. Most of the time, he won't even look at me. It's, oh God, it's just weird. But anyway, so yeah, that happened. Oh my gosh. Crazy town. Okay, bye.